On the eve of our wedding, I accidentally overheard my fiancée talking with her best friend. I'm just playing with him. Isn't that cleaner than hiring a male escort? On the wedding day, I'll just disappear. His humiliated face will be so funny to watch. My heart turned to ashes, yet I treated her with even more care and tenderness. On the wedding day, she didn't disappear. Instead, she put on the most magnificent wedding dress. But, sorry, this time, it was the groom who ran away. Chapter 1. Only 2 months left until Grace and I get married. My patent has been completed ahead of schedule. The profits from this technology will exceed tens of millions. Finally, Grace won't have to marry me with any sense of grievance. I'll give her a grand wedding. After finalizing a project deal in City A, I couldn't contain my excitement. I drove overnight back to City B, eager to share the good news with Grace. I picked up the gift I'd bought for her and glanced at the time, not even 11 p.m. yet. She should still be awake. Luckily, I made it in time. Grace, are you really going to marry Samuel? Aside from his face, he has nothing to offer you. I froze at the door, hand on the knob, when I heard the voice of Grace's best friend coming from inside the room. It was just a bet, a joke. You managed to win him over in 2 months. You've been dating for 3 years now and are even getting married. Did you actually fall in love with that broke guy? A bet. My hand stopped on the doorknob. I wanted to hear what Grace would say. Samuel is Diana's crush. She still hasn't gotten over him. Just thinking about how the guy she dreams about cooks me breakfast every morning and makes me laugh, it feels amazing. Grace's voice carried a tipsy laugh. You and Diana have been rivals since college. She used to follow Samuel around every day, and you made a bet with me that you'd take him from her. For that, I even paid for your coffee for a whole month. Don't think you can trick me again. Grace and her friend giggled. I felt my body temperature drop. My whole being went cold. Then Grace said again, who would actually marry him? What? Live in that tiny apartment and drink air for dinner? I told you, Grace comes from a good family. She's beautiful. She deserves someone from the same social class. Why would she settle for a broke guy? I wanted to burst through the door and shout that several companies had invited me to become a shareholder for my new technology, that I could give Grace the life she wanted. But her next words froze me in place again. I'm just having some fun with Samuel. He's cleaner than those male models at the club, isn't he? And at the wedding, imagine Diana's face when she sees her so-called dream man waiting at the altar, only to realize the bride has vanished. Will she cry her heart out? Grace's voice was bright with excitement. The girls laughed as they discussed how Grace would ditch me at the wedding, how pathetic I'd look. Outside the door, my hand trembled around the gift box. Just 3 days ago, before a business trip, I'd made breakfast for Grace. She hugged me from behind. Darling, don't go on this trip, please. Every time you're away, I can't sleep alone. I dropped the dumplings into the pot and turned to pull her into my arms. It's just a business trip, sweetheart. If this deal goes well, the commission alone will be enough to buy you that diamond ring you love. I just don't want you to feel like you're settling for less by marrying me. As long as I can marry you, I don't care about money or status. She'd rubbed her face against my chest like a kitten, igniting a fire in my heart. I silently vowed to give her the grand fairy tale wedding she deserved. I thought I was the luckiest man alive, that the heiress Grace song, once the aloof goddess of our university, had fallen in love with me, had chosen to be gentle and sweet only for me. I thought she loved me for who I was, that she didn't mind my humble beginnings, that she believed I could build our future with my own hands. But now I knew, it had all started as a joke, a silly bet between her and her roommate. I was nothing more than a tool to humiliate Diana. She was a good actress, so good that she made me believe her, made me fall hopelessly in love. I didn't dare imagine what would have happened if I hadn't overheard all this, if the bride had run away mid-ceremony, leaving me standing alone in front of hundreds of guests. The shame alone could have killed my already frail mother. I shook with rage. Grace song, if you want to put on a show, then let's put on a grand one together. Chapter 2. Back in the car, I sat motionless for a while before picking up my phone and dialing Diana's number. Come out, I have a gift for you. Really, I'm leaving right now. Keep my gift safe for me. Diana's voice was full of excitement. I could almost picture her clutching the phone with one hand while hurriedly putting on her shoes with the other. At the cafe, Diana hugged the latest LV handbag, grinning from ear to ear. She was nothing like Grace. Even when Grace was happy, she would just cling to my arm and sway it gently, making me want to pat her head. I shook my head, trying to push Grace out of my thoughts. Sam, since when did you become so thoughtful? You even remembered to bring me a gift from your business trip. She eyed me suspiciously, then glanced at the gift. Wait, don't tell me this was meant for Grace. But she didn't want it, so you gave it to me instead. I awkwardly rubbed my nose. How terrifyingly sharp women's intuition could be these days. I was never good at lying. Before I could come up with an excuse, Diana's face lit up again. It's fine. Even if Grace didn't want it, you still bought it. So I'm not picky. Just one handbag Grace didn't want was enough to make Diana so genuinely happy. I suddenly felt a pang of guilt, I'd neglected her far too much before. Diana, my patent has just been approved. Would you be interested in a collaboration? Diana Han set down her bag, her eyes shining. Sam, are you serious? You're really willing to work with the Han Group now? No more worrying about gossip. Sam, if we work together, does that mean you'll be visiting Han Group often? Sam, does that mean we'll be working in the same company from now on? I rubbed my forehead. I really shouldn't have brought up business with Diana. She was so chatty. After parting ways with her, I went back to the office to finalize the cooperation contract. By the time I finished, dawn had already broken. I sat there for a moment, swallowing the bitterness in my chest, then decided to go home and watch Grace perform her little play. I picked up some Lin's soup dumplings on the way home. The living room was spotless, no trace of last night's drinking and scheming with her friends. When I entered the bedroom, Grace was still asleep, her lips curved slightly upward, as if she were teasing me, her supposedly better-than-a-male model boyfriend, even in her dreams. I brushed her cheek gently. Grace, wake up. She blinked sleepily, her eyes lighting up as soon as she saw me. She threw her arms around my neck. Darling, you're back. I missed you so much, she said, her voice syrupy sweet. Normally, that tone would have made me want to pin her down on the bed and shower her with affection. Instead, I patted her back and coaxed her softly. I'm back. I brought you your favorite soup dumplings. She tilted her head up, smiling slyly. Darling, are you sure you just want me to eat soup dumplings, and not something else? Her gaze lingered on my lips, full of teasing temptation. I was up all night and worked up a sweat. Be good. Have breakfast first, I'm going to take a shower. Disappointment flashed across her face. Cold water poured down from the showerhead, making me shiver. 2 years ago, Grace Song had defied her family to be with me. I still remembered her dragging a small suitcase to my door, crying as she knocked. Samuel, my parents disowned me. From now on, I only have you. She had thrown herself into my arms, tears soaking through my shirt. That was when she captured my heart, brave, reckless, and full of love. Now, digging her out of my heart felt like tearing flesh from bone. No wonder women cry their hearts out when they're heartbroken, and men drown their pain in drink night after night. Chapter 3. Be good, I'm off work today. Let's go pick out your wedding ring. I wiped my hair and watched Grace nibble at a soup dumpling. She barely paused for a breath before turning up a smiling face at me. Seeing Grace in a wedding dress still made my heart race. Her features were delicate, pretty with a hint of shy charm. Softly curled hair fell carelessly over her pale shoulders. She tilted her head and asked with a smile, "Honey, does it look good?" In that moment I wished I hadn't heard what she said the night before. If only I hadn't rushed back so soon. It looks beautiful. Then let's pick this one, no more trying. She tucked a strand of hair behind her ear and headed for the fitting room. Babe, try the lace one too. Try a few so you can pick the most beautiful, I urged. She looked back with mild reluctance. Husband, trying on wedding dresses is so tiring. Didn't you say this one was pretty? Just this one. Okay. Aren't women supposed to be obsessed with wedding dresses? Maybe Grace was so indifferent because she already knew that no matter how perfect a gown might be, she wouldn't actually wear it for me. Thinking that sent a slow ache through my chest and cooled the heat there. My phone buzzed, yanking me back to the present. Sam, when are you coming to the company to sign the contract? I've been waiting for you all morning. Poor kitty emoji. It was Diana. She loved sending cat stickers. Before I could reply, Grace, freshly dressed, snatched my phone. She stared at the screen and her expression clouded. Why are you texting Diana? You promised me you'd keep your distance from her. Diana and Grace ran in the same circle. They'd been at odds since childhood. Diana always had the sweeter mouth and slightly better grades, so the elders favored her more. I used to think Grace just didn't like Diana. Girl stuff. Petty fights. Turns out Grace's loathing for Diana ran so deep she'd rather settle with someone she didn't even like if it would disgust Diana. Only then did I suddenly understand why Diana seemed to win people's affection more easily. You're finally speaking up. Sam, that one is a pretentious coquette. She's always thinking about seducing other people's boyfriends. Enough, Grace. I took back my phone and bowed my head to suppress the odd feeling welling inside me. Diana and I are just business contacts, don't overthink it. But my words didn't comfort her. She grabbed her bag and stormed out of the bridal shop. I sighed and followed after her. It wasn't hard to coax Grace back, if you were willing to spend enough money. So the wedding ring cost not only the commission from this A-City deal but also a year's salary. Grace held out her hand. The diamond ring sparkled against the whiteness of her skin. She pouted, still not fully appeased. Okay, I'll forgive you this time for being so sincere in making it up to me. Grace, we've ordered the ring, we'll definitely get married. Right. I fixed my gaze on her eyes. She looked down at the ring on her hand, then looked up, blooming into a coquettish smile. Of course, if I don't marry you, who else would I marry? If she hadn't handed me her bag when she went to the restroom, if the phone hadn't rung then, I would have bought that ring for Grace without hesitation. Even if she wouldn't truly marry me, the sight of her in a wedding dress in front of me was worth letting her gamble for. Who would wear an off-the-rack wedding dress? Weddings need high-end custom gowns, only Samuel the country bumpkin wouldn't know that. Grace, my darling, the gown doesn't matter. Let this rustic mutt buy you a big diamond, you can wear it even if we don't get married. If Grace hadn't typed those few replies below, I couldn't have brought myself to set the trap for her. Chapter 4. That's what I think too, she replied in her friend's group chat. On the drive home, Grace sat in the car, looking listless. I guessed it was because I'd only paid the deposit for the ring, not the full amount. Grace, my mom called. She said she misses us. Let's go visit her together, I said, without lifting her head. She answered flatly, didn't you just visit her recently? Why go again? Maybe she just misses her future daughter-in-law. I watched her expression carefully out of the corner of my eye, just as expected. A flicker of impatience crossed her face. How about you go alone? You know I can't sleep well in strange beds anyway. Humans are strange creatures. I knew full well Grace might not love me, might never truly plan to marry me. Yet I still kept searching for small clues, anything to overturn what I already knew. Or maybe I was just forcing myself to lose hope bit by bit. Like now, she didn't like small towns, didn't like my mother, and didn't like me, the man who had fought his way up from a humble place. I'll be gone for just 3 or 4 days, I said finally. Since Grace didn't want to go, I decided to bring Diana to visit my mom instead. When Diana started stuffing bag after bag into my car, I was caught off guard. Diana, my mom lives alone. She doesn't need all this stuff. Placing the last box of tea on the back seat, she said cheerfully, all done, let's go. I'm afraid Auntie might try to send me away, so I brought gifts to melt her heart. She struggled with her seatbelt for a while, so I leaned over to help buckle it. Sam, you're too good to me, she said, eyes sparkling like stars. I couldn't help but chuckle, ruffling her hair gently. A wave of tenderness washed over me. Diana had grown up in a complicated home, a father buried in business battles, and a mother consumed by jealousy and suspicion of every woman near him. Her mother passed away before Diana even reached adulthood. She was a rich heiress who'd been deprived of love since childhood, so when I showed her a bit of kindness, she clung to me for years. In a way, I was grateful. She'd been my one source of warmth through college. But because of her, Grace had also entered my life. The thought of Grace still weighed heavy on me. I wondered if, when I returned, she would still run into my arms like before, rubbing her head against my chest. To my surprise, my mom adored Diana. Under my mother's loving gaze, half the dishes on the table ended up in Diana's mouth. That night, Diana was already lying on my mother's lap, her head resting on her stomach while mom rubbed it gently. Watching Diana's smug little smile, I couldn't help but think of Grace. Grace had come home with me once. My mother had cooked an even bigger feast that time, but Grace only took a few bites. She hadn't said anything, but I knew she was disgusted. When Diana and I were about to leave, my mother held her hand. Teary-eyed, anyone watching would have thought they were real mother and daughter. Diana, come visit with Samuel whenever you can. I'll cook your favorite dishes, Mom said warmly. Diana hugged her tightly. I don't want to call you Auntie. Can I call you Mom, like Sam does? My mother froze. Then after a moment, gently patted Diana's back. On the drive home, Diana's chin was tilted so high it almost reached the roof of the car. Sam, Mom already agreed to my request. From now on, Han Group is your responsibility, and I'll be a happy little parasite. I answered absent-mindedly. Sam, I glanced at her curiously. You promised me, she said, her eyes glistening. Seeing she was on the verge of tears, my heart softened. I patted her head gently. Sam, are you sure about Grace? She asked quietly after a pause. She's been with you for 3 years, are you really going to set her up like this? Chapter 5. Grace could never compare to Diana. They disliked each other, but Diana had never once spoken ill of Grace in front of me. It's just giving her a choice, I told Diana, and you know I always have my reasons. Only then did she nod, saying everything was going smoothly. When I returned home, Grace wasn't there. I sent her a text, baby, I'm home. She didn't reply right away, but she came back less than half an hour later. When she threw herself into my arms, I froze for a second. It was a gesture she'd done countless times before, but now, my instinct was to pull away. Darling, how's Mom? Why didn't you stay a few more days with her? Everything's fine. I just worried you'd have trouble sleeping without me holding you. So I came back early. I wasn't around for a few days. Did you go out with your girlfriends? Maybe meet some young rich heirs? A flicker of panic crossed her face before she quickly composed herself. What are you talking about? We're about to get married, but you're the one still in touch with Diana. I told you to delete her, did you? The best way to change the subject, stand on the moral high ground and attack. Grace, I need to work with the Han Group if I want to maximize profits. That's the only way I can pay the rest for that diamond ring and give you the grand. dreamy wedding you deserve. I looked straight into her eyes, speaking sincerely. Her expression shifted several times. She knew I could have chosen to cooperate with either the Han group or the Song group, but if I worked with the Song group, I'd never fully cut ties with her family. That was something I could only see clearly now. From the outside looking in, she hesitated for a moment. Fine, for your career's sake, I'll be understanding. But you're not allowed to meet Diana in private, not even once. I'll be keeping an eye on you. I nodded, thinking she'd hardly have the time to watch me. She'd be busier than I was. During dinner, her phone kept lighting up with message alerts. She glanced at it once, then calmly switched it to silent mode. After dinner, as expected, she changed clothes to go out. Darling, I made plans to go shopping with my girlfriends. I'll be back soon. Okay. I pretended not to notice the black camisole dress under her coat and said gently, be careful. Okay. As she bent down to change her shoes, I couldn't resist adding, want me to drive you? Her movements paused for just a second before she grabbed the doorknob. No need, honey, they're already waiting for me outside. Someone was waiting for her outside, just not her girlfriends. Chapter 6. My phone quickly filled with pictures. Grace walking into a well-known club arm in arm with a sharply dressed man. Her coat was gone, just a low-cut, short camisole dress remained. She'd shown me that dress when she first bought it. The cut was perfect, wrapping her chest so it seemed on the verge of spilling out. Her waist was slim, her hips perky, an alluring waist-to-hip ratio, like a bewitching temptress. I'd warned her then. My throat dry. Wife, that outfit is only for me to see. She'd laughed and, right in front of me, tugged the zipper down. Tonight she wore that battle dress and looped her arm through the wrist of a rich heir who'd come to be city on business. I already suspected she might do something like this, but seeing the photos still felt like being pricked with needles. After all, she was a woman I once loved. Seeing her willingly go on dates with another man made me both furious and wounded. Grace didn't come back early like she'd said she would. I sent her message after message. She replied only once, don't worry. I guessed she'd texted just to calm me down and to stop me from coming to pick her up. When the shower stopped, I closed my eyes and steadied my breathing. She crept into bed and I felt her move close in the dark. Her arms slid around my waist from behind, pressing her freshly washed, slightly cool body against my back. Honey, are you asleep? Her warm breath fanned my neck, but at that moment I had no interest. In a groggy voice I answered, baby, stop fooling around. Go to sleep. I gently pried her hands off my waist. I didn't understand it. She didn't love me. She'd just come back from dating another man. Yet after a shower she crawled into my arms. If I had to offer an explanation, I'd blame desire, not guilt. Over the next stretch of time, with my tacit allowance, Grace went out more and more with that wealthy heir. The photos they sent got closer and more intimate each time, until a front-facing selfie came through. Grace had her arm around the man's neck and pressed her cheek up against his. It looked like it was his selfie. My breath went dull. So many times she used to cling to my neck like that, giggling and stealing kisses on my cheek. I stared at the picture in a daze. Then another message popped up, a chat log. This girl's throwing herself at him. Can you actually get her to do what you want? The avatar was the man in the photo. Can you restrain yourself and not be seduced by beauty? Diana replied. How many men can resist when a beauty comes and wraps herself around them? He shot back. Even if you can't resist, you should try. I'll ask Sam about this. By the way, you're ruthless, setting a trap like this for your own woman. But your sister-in-law isn't exactly a saint either. Don't talk bad about Sam, or I'll bite you. A playful cat emoji. Then Diana called. My head was fuzzy. I hit decline. Samuel, this is the time to let go of Grace completely. Grace. Oh Grace, if the runaway wedding was your idea, then I'll be the one to carry it out. Chapter 7. In the following weeks, both Grace and I were busy. I was busy applying my patent to the production line. Busy familiarizing myself with the various operations of the Han Group. Diana Han often said she wasn't good at management, but through our work discussions, I realized she wasn't incapable, just lazy. Sam, I feel so at ease with you around. I just want to be a pampered freeloader. You work hard, and take good care of me. I pinched her cheek, smiling. All right, I'll make sure my Diana stays soft and well-fed. At some point, the last trace of awkwardness between us disappeared. Maybe it was when she'd wanted to call my mother Mom. When I got home one evening, exhausted, I was surprised to see Grace there. Before I could even take off my shoes, she came running over and hugged me. Darling, you're home. Her voice sounded muffled. By now, I'd learned to manage my reactions to her perfectly. What's wrong? I changed my shoes and led her to the sofa, though unlike before, I didn't pull her into my arms. I want your chicken and rice dish. Will you make it for me? She rubbed her cheek against my arm like she used to. I felt goosebumps rise all over my skin. Love and indifference, the body never lies. There's no food at home. Tomorrow. Okay. Back when we were in love, even if she wanted something at midnight, I would have driven out to buy ingredients. But now, there was no need to act anymore. After all, the play was almost over. She looked disappointed for a moment, then quickly perked up again. Let's go check the wedding venue set up tomorrow. Okay. She finally remembered, our wedding was less than a month away. I can't tomorrow. I have a business trip. Why don't you go pick the decorations yourself? Whatever you choose, I'll love it. Her face froze. This time, the disappointment was unmistakable. Samuel, do you not love me anymore? She asked softly, staring into my eyes. I lifted her chin. What makes you say that? We're getting married soon. Don't overthink it. Suddenly, she pushed me down onto the sofa. You've fallen for Diana, haven't you? So that was it. Jealousy again. Over Diana. No. What are you imagining this time? Before I could finish, she bit down hard on my shoulder. I sucked in a sharp breath. Her teeth had broken the skin. I could feel the sting of blood. Her voice came from near my shoulder, low and trembling. Samuel, don't love anyone else. Always love me. Okay. I sensed something off about her, but didn't think too much of it. Maybe Diana had provoked her again. Until later, when Diana sent another screenshot. The girl you mentioned, what's wrong with her? You told me to make a move, but she can't even play along. It was from the same rich heir. What happened? Diana replied, adding a confused cat emoji. I booked the hotel room, took a shower, and she ran off. Ha ha ha. So what? Can't get over it. Diana, don't push me. You want me to come find you instead? So, she ran, but they must have taken the photos already. Then Diana texted again. Sam, do you think Grace regrets it now? Maybe she really plans to marry you after all. I didn't reply, because I didn't know. Maybe she had backed out at the last second. Maybe she really did still want to marry me. The bite mark on my shoulder throbbed faintly. Luckily, the pain wasn't in my heart. Chapter 8. A week before the wedding. Grace Song returned to her family home to await the ceremony. I watched as she packed her things. She had arrived with one small suitcase, and now she was leaving with the same one. Before stepping out the door, she wrapped her arms around my waist and rested her head against my chest. Darling, I don't want to go home. I'll miss you. I patted her back, an unexplainable heaviness welling inside me. When she walked out today, it marked the true end of us. When I dropped her off at the Song residence, despite our wedding being only a week away, her family still treated me coldly. To them, I was just a poor man trying to steal away their golden daughter. As I turned to leave, Grace's face showed a deep reluctance, though I couldn't tell if she was unwilling to part with our 3 years together or simply loath to lose the obedient boyfriend who did everything for her. She tugged at my sleeve, tilting her face up with a trace of unease in her eyes. Samuel, you'll come to pick me up, right? Before I could answer, her mother's voice called her back inside. Maybe it was better that way. At least I didn't have to lie one more time. Grace, you'd better think this through. If you marry him, you're marrying into poverty. As I walked away, those angry words were the last thing I heard. But no, she wouldn't be marrying into poverty. The wedding hall gleamed magnificently. Diana stood beside me in a white gown, her cheeks flushed with excitement. I glanced at my watch. With her arm looped through mine, we began walking slowly toward the stage. Below us sat an audience of distinguished elders and society's elite. Diana picked up the microphone and was just about to speak when the chapel doors burst open. Grace entered, wearing a wedding dress of her own. Her makeup was flawless, but her once elegant updo was coming apart, and the tiny tiara that should have adorned her hair was missing. Her mother followed right behind, fury written all over her face. Her eyes locked on me and Diana. So this is the poor boy you were so obsessed with marrying, poor and heartless. Diana's expression was complicated, somewhere between amusement and anger. Grace lifted her gown and stepped toward us, one determined stride at a time, until she stood before the altar, staring straight at me. Samuel, why didn't you come to pick me up? Grace Song was still as beautiful as ever, though her face now carried undeniable disappointment. Miss Song, I said evenly, did you come to see the runaway bride and the heartbroken groom? Her eyes widened, disbelief flashing in them. I'm afraid I'll have to disappoint you. I lowered my gaze, unwilling to look at her. After all, she was once the woman I'd loved with all my heart, and now she stood before me, lost and hollow, in a wedding dress that wasn't meant for her. Before Grace could respond, her mother exploded in rage, her glare fixed on Diana. I squeezed Diana's hand gently to reassure her. So you're the Han family's little vixen who stole my daughter's man. Everyone, look, on the day of my daughter's wedding, it's her from the Han family standing up there. Whispers rippled through the crowd, though none dared speak too soon, unsure of what was really going on. Mrs. Song, Miss Song, I said coldly, watch your words. Diana is my treasure. No one has the right to insult her. Diana subtly moved closer behind me, pretending to seek cover, but in her eyes, pride and excitement burned bright. Grace's mother clutched her daughter's arm. You see, look at the man you chose. He's already turned his back on you. What more proof do you need? Show them the evidence. she barked. Let everyone here see exactly what kind of shameless pair those two on stage really are. Chapter 9. Grace Song's mother had always been a proud, haughty woman, her eyes forever fixed above others. Perhaps my failure to go to the Song house to fetch the bride had finally driven her over the edge, because now she was acting like a madwoman in public. A glint of hatred flashed in Grace's eyes. Samuel, you pushed me to this. Don't blame me for what happens next. She snatched her mother's phone, tapped a few times, and suddenly, the massive screen behind me lit up. There it was, a photo of me leaning over to fasten Diana's seatbelt. Another, of me ruffling her hair. Out of context, they looked intimate. Grace's expression carried righteous fury from atop her imagined moral high ground, and even her mother's face bore a smug sense of victory. Everyone, Samuel is my boyfriend, Grace declared, her voice trembling just enough to sound pitiful. And during our relationship, Diana seduced him. Today was supposed to be our wedding. Diana's eyes glistened as she turned toward the guests, her voice wavering as though she were on the verge of tears. The audience erupted into murmurs. Finally, a rival of the Song family couldn't resist making a cutting remark. So the Song family's daughter can't get married and came to the Han family's recognition ceremony to cause a scene. Both Grace and her mother froze, their heads snapping toward me and Diana. Miss Song, I said evenly, does helping my sister fasten her seatbelt cross a moral boundary? If that's unacceptable, then what would you call checking into a hotel with another man during your engagement? If Grace had chosen to quietly walk away right then, I might have let her go with some shred of dignity, but I gave a signal to the staff. The screen flickered, the photos of me and Diana disappeared, replaced by new images, Grace and a man, arms wrapped around each other, kissing, entering a luxury club together, and finally, Grace holding a hotel key card as she entered a room. Each photo was carefully edited, the man's face obscured just enough to keep him anonymous, though anyone could see he wasn't me. The moment they appeared, Grace nearly lost her balance, her mother barely managing to steady her. Grace went pale, staring at the screen in disbelief as her private chat logs began to scroll beside the photos. Her mother's reaction was different, pure rage. My daughter lowering herself to date a broke nobody like you should have been your blessing. If better men pursued her, it's because she's beautiful and desirable. You're lucky she ever agreed to marry you. I almost laughed. Diana moved as if to speak, but I stopped her with a hand. Miss Song, I asked calmly, do you have anything else to say? Grace looked up at me, gathering her breath with effort. Her voice choked. Samuel, I wronged you, but that doesn't mean you had to humiliate me, holding a fake family ceremony with Diana just to disgust me. I pressed my fingers to my temple. Diana finally couldn't contain herself anymore. She'd been waiting for this moment. She wanted to see the look on Grace's face. Miss Song, Diana said sweetly, Samuel and I don't have to pretend. We're half-siblings, same father, different mothers. He's my real brother. Then, as if staking her claim, she clung to my arm. Today is our Han family's official recognition ceremony, and Sam is also taking over 70% of the Han group's shares. Oh, and Mrs. Song, Sam's net worth now isn't any lower than your family's. Gasps rippled through the hall. The guests' interest in me, the newly revealed heir to the Han fortune, far surpassed any sympathy they might have had for the Song women. Grace's face went through a kaleidoscope of emotions. Her mother stood stunned. Mrs. Song quickly pushed her daughter forward. Didn't you say Samuel loved you? Now that he and Diana aren't that way, you two can still. But Grace only stared at me, frozen. Her mother pinched her arm in desperation, but she didn't react. This farce had gone on long enough. Miss Song, I said quietly, it's over between us. Mrs. Song opened her mouth, looking around the crowd for help from their usual allies, but no one spoke up. Every single one of them looked away. Grace's mother was still mid-breath when Grace finally turned, glancing at me one last time before walking slowly toward the exit. Her figure looked small, lonely under the grand chandelier. I watched her disappear through the doors, unsure what I was feeling anymore. The woman I'd loved for 3 years, gone, in the most final way possible. Chapter 10. Grace was nothing more than a small interlude in the grand family recognition ceremony. With Diana's remarkable stage presence and eloquence, she quickly pulled everyone's attention away from the gossip. Her speech was powerful and emotional. She spoke of a father's longing for his son, a sister's affection for her brother, and the tremendous profits my patent had brought to the Han group. She then naturally led into the announcement that I was a worthy successor to the Han family empire. I followed up by sincerely thanking everyone for their trust and confidently promised that I would lead the Han group into a new era of success. The audience, all prominent figures in B-City's elite circle, was stunned. No one had expected that the Han family still had an undisclosed child. After all, few knew that before entering the business world, the Han patriarch had once been in an arranged marriage, leaving behind a pregnant wife before he went off to make his fortune. During that time, he met Diana's mother. When he later knelt before my mother to beg forgiveness, she gave only one condition, that the 1-year-old me would stay with her. I was raised by my mother alone, yet she never taught me to hate my father. In fact, whenever my father helped me with my education, she encouraged me to accept it with gratitude. I once protested on her behalf, angry for the injustice she'd endured. She just smiled gently and said, "Samuel, your father didn't stop loving you. He just stopped loving me." Then, with a calmness that humbled me, she added, "And really, what's so wrong about that? The fault isn't his, it was that era's. Back then, there was no such thing as free love. Your father was simply a bit braver than most." Her face had been so serene when she said it. "In a way," she murmured, "his choice was also a kind of mercy, a release for me." When Diana and I returned home after the ceremony, we discussed the Han family succession. My mother didn't make the decision for me. She believed that the right to choose should always be mine. It was thanks to her openness and kindness that the Han group ended up with a proper heir. And Diana finally got what she wanted, a brother she could depend on, and the chance to live her dream life as a carefree, spoiled little freeloader. As for Grace's outburst, it hadn't caused a scandal, but her reputation was utterly ruined. If she hadn't come to the wedding to make a scene, perhaps I would never have released those materials. When I saw Grace again, she had lost weight, her complexion pale and waxy, her eyes dull and lifeless. She stood in my office for a long time before finally speaking. "Samuel, if I say I regret it, would you believe me?" I looked at her, my lips curling slightly. "I believe you." A flicker of hope lit in her eyes, her voice growing stronger. "Then, if I say I still love you, would you believe that too?" I paused before answering quietly. "Grace, what is it you love, me, or the identity of the Han heir?" Her lips parted, but no words came out. I already knew everything. The rich heir she had been seeing went to his father, furious that she had deceived him while having a boyfriend. In retaliation, his family blocked the Song family's business dealings completely. The Songs abandoned her without hesitation, publicly declaring that when she left home 3 years ago, she had ceased to be their daughter. Now, Grace had nowhere to go, no one to turn to, estranged from her old circle of friends and despised by both families. She was utterly alone. As she turned to leave my office, I almost said something, but the words died in my throat. She didn't know that the sales job she now held was secretly arranged by Diana. She didn't know that the cheap little apartment she was renting had been bought by Diana, and then quietly leased to her under another name. Just as I was lost in thought, my phone rang. It was Diana. "Sam, you have to come home early today. I've arranged a blind date for you, Uncle Lynn's daughter. I'll help you dress up when you get back. You better make a good impression." I couldn't help but smile. Having such a spoiled, attention-hogging sister truly had its perks, and maybe, if things went well, she'd soon find someone of her own. I planned to make sure Diana got herself a little niece or nephew soon, anything to stop her from following me around all day shouting, "Sam, Sam brother, Sam brother." Grace's side story. The first time I met Samuel, my sworn rival Diana was fluttering around him, calling him Sam this and Sam that, but he didn't even spare her a kind glance. That was the moment I decided I liked him. Later, I began secretly watching him. He wasn't well off. He often ate in the school cafeteria, and his wardrobe consisted of just a few sets of clothes, always recycled. But when he played basketball, he looked effortlessly cool. He earned academic scholarships, and throughout all 4 years of college, he never dated anyone. But then, I noticed something that made my heart tighten. The way he looked at Diana began to change. His gaze grew softer, almost affectionate. So, when my roommate and I made a bet, I decided I would win it, by making Samuel fall for me. Once that decision was made, I felt strangely free. I was filled with determination every single day. Every love letter I wrote him, I wrote with care. Every chance encounter on the street was carefully staged, me waiting at the corner for a long time. I hated my family's house. It reeked of money and emptiness, so one day I packed a small suitcase and ran to Samuel. When he held me that night, he trembled, heart aching for me. I won the bet. I won Samuel's heart. I didn't allow him to contact Diana anymore. I wanted his eyes on me and only me. He was passionate and obedient, my perfect, gentle lover. For 3 years, Samuel spoiled me like a treasure in his palm, but living day after day in that tiny apartment, while my old friends, the ones who used to flatter me, began to whisper and sneer behind my back, it gnawed at my pride. My arrogance couldn't stand their pity, their mockery, that I'd fallen for a poor man, that I doomed myself to a dull, shabby life, stung like acid. So, one night after drinking, under the coaxing of my so-called friends, I made the decision to run away from the wedding. It wasn't that I didn't love Samuel, I did, but I was terrified. I was afraid of a lifetime of poverty. I loved the glitter of huge diamond rings, the dazzling sparkle of custom wedding gowns, the envious eyes of others, not the awkwardness of watching Samuel swipe a credit card to pay for a ring we could barely afford, not the sales clerk's condescending look that made me want to sink through the floor. That's why I never let Samuel pay the final installment on the ring. Meeting the wealthy heir was pure coincidence. He was handsome, rich, and wildly charming, everything Samuel wasn't. It felt like fate telling me to step out of Samuel's world and into a new one, a better one. I knew I was beautiful, and I knew how to use that beauty. I put on the same black slip dress that once made Samuel blush just by looking at me, and I went to meet the rich heir. But when his hands slid onto my thighs, I froze. My instinct screamed at me to push him away. Samuel's name flashed on my phone again and again. I didn't dare reply. I just wanted to go home. I wanted to run back to him, to melt in his arms. That's when I realized I truly loved Samuel, more deeply than I had ever admitted to myself. For a while, I thought maybe I could just accept an ordinary life with him. But then one of my friends married a rich second-generation heir. At a party, she showed off her massive diamond ring, and all the girls who once revolved around me instantly gathered around her. The envy, the attention, all gone. And just like that, I lost my resolve again. Love couldn't feed me. Love couldn't silence the voice of vanity in my heart. I kept meeting the rich heir, holding his hand, letting him kiss me, pretending he was Samuel. Then one night, he handed me a hotel key card. In the presidential suite, as I heard the sound of water running in the shower, my heart pounded, not with desire, but with dread. If I took one more step, there would be no turning back. So I ran. I didn't care that my sudden escape might offend him. I didn't care that my pride might be shattered. I just wanted to go back to my Samuel, and maybe, just maybe, live that simple, ordinary life with him after all. Ever since I made that painful decision, the one to truly marry Samuel, I finally stopped twisting myself in knots. I threw myself into the wedding preparations, arranging every detail of the venue, writing each invitation by hand, planning everything as perfectly as I could. But the busier Samuel became, the more uneasy I felt. I could feel it clearly. I was no longer reflected in his eyes. One night, I checked the car's dashcam footage. I saw him driving with Diana beside him. They were laughing together, chatting easily, so natural, so close. I didn't finish watching. My blood turned to ice. I wanted to storm over, to demand an explanation, to scream and cry, but I didn't dare. Because if I asked, if he admitted it, if he said he loved Diana, then the wedding would be over. So I told myself, no matter what happens, get married first. As long as we're married, Samuel is mine. For the first time, I was terrified of losing him. Before the wedding, I was supposed to return to the songhouse to await the marriage. Before leaving, I hugged him tightly. He hadn't held me on his own for so long. Samuel, I whispered, you'll come to pick me up, right? He didn't answer. Before I could press him, my mother called me inside. So I spent those final days in the songhouse restless, unable to sleep, counting every second until the wedding. The night before, I didn't sleep at all. My right eyelid kept twitching, and I told myself it was just exhaustion, that nothing bad would happen. But my heart felt unbearably heavy, and then it happened. Samuel didn't come. The ceremony time passed, and still no word. Ignoring my family's protests, I rushed out to find him. When I arrived and saw him and Diana standing together, in our place, something inside me broke. Jealousy, rage, disbelief. I screamed. I accused. I demanded to know why Diana had stolen my men. I had imagined countless scenarios, but never this one, never that they were siblings. And worse, that Samuel knew everything all along. He knew everything, and he'd been acting with me all this time. When the photos started appearing on the screen, I felt like I'd fallen into a bottomless pit. The air itself froze. I could barely breathe. Cold. I was so cold, but not as cold as Samuel's eyes when they looked at me. I stumbled out of the wedding hall, broken and humiliated. That day, I destroyed everything: love, family, even the last scraps of friendship. For the first time, I tried to rely on myself, and only then did I understand how hard survival could be. Back when we first graduated, Samuel had supported the both of us, turning cheap ingredients into delicious meals, even refusing to buy breakfast outside so he could save money. Samuel, the man who once worried about buying eggs and rice, was now the center of everyone's attention. I missed him. When I finally gathered the courage to stand before him again, my knees were trembling. I told him I regretted everything. I told him I still loved him, but he only looked at me and asked quietly, "Grace, what is it you really love, me, or the title of the Han heir?" I opened my mouth, but no sound came, because he was right. Even if I told the truth, even if I said I loved him, he wouldn't believe me anymore. So I lost him, the man who loved me most, the man I loved the most. And I also lost the woman who silently helped me when everyone else turned their backs, Diana. In my dreams, I'm always walking toward Samuel in a wedding dress. He's smiling. Diana is in the audience, clapping for us, tears in her eyes. And every time I wake up, I whisper the same words into the dark: if only I could do it all over again.